Oh wait, I meant to do the thing. Right, that's what I meant to do.
All of that is coming across, eh?
Yeah, no, we're live right now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Morgan Amkalawan. I am the Deputy Political Leader. Today, we are having our first town hall to follow our first virtual political meeting. So with us, we have Nikolai, our political leader, Nichelle, our Chief Financial Officer, and Kelsey, our Secretary. So yeah, I hope everyone's great. It's Sunday, it's Father's Day, and let's get this started.
Nice. Well, it's coming on the heels, as you mentioned, Morgan, of our first virtual political meeting. So what we can probably do is a recap just of that whole experience, because, I mean, it was quite the experience for all of us, undoubtedly. So how about we just talk about that? I don't know, Kelsey, you want to start off with that? I know going into that and giving that first speech and stuff, because you were the first one at the crease up for batting. So how was that experience?
For me, it was very, I guess, calming because I guess once you get nervous about it, obviously, but after a while, as long as you finish your speech, you're like, oh my god, I did it, I'm not dead. So it was very, it was very, I guess, I'm hopeful for the future so that if I ever have to do it again, I won't have a heart attack.
Nice. And will you, Morgan? How was that?
I mean, it was really good. Obviously, that was our first virtual one. It felt good that I had a little practice from, our whole series, the Live at 5 with Morgan. So I felt a bit more comfortable, confident. But it was nice to, finally get our policies out there, to finally show how much, we've come from since we've launched to now. And also, it was just a really great celebration for the fact that we're a year already. We're 1 year old, and that's amazing. And a lot of people doubted that we would even make it this far, and the fact, that we're still going. I think we can all give ourselves a big round of applause, a nice tap on our shoulder, because we really did it. We really done it. So it's just a journey ahead, and I was really proud of ourselves. So I can't wait to see how this continues to go.
Nice. And well, Nichelle, I know that you are up this Tuesday, but at least observing from the backstage, so to say, how was that whole experience?
I mean, even being backstage would have been nerve-wracking, especially when we had our technical difficulties in the beginning, So, I mean, this is the new normal. This is what we have to work with our times. And I'm actually excited to continue this way.
Nice. Well, I can say for me, it really was very comforting seeing all of our hard work come together. We are the second political party in Trinidad and Tobago to have our virtual political meetings, the first being the UNC. And it's not a competition necessarily to see who comes in first and so forth. The fact is that we were able to successfully pull off our first virtual political meeting. I'm very proud of you, Morgan and Kelsey, for stepping up to the plate and executing so well. And the beauty in all of this is that when you all joined the Progressive Party, you didn't necessarily see yourselves as politicians. And being a part of this party, albeit a political party, it's not about being a politician, because I often say we need far less politicians in politics and more people in politics. So as you all are progressing within the party, you're learning as you go along. And I'm really, really, really proud to have seen that showing on Tuesday. For me, as I told you all, I had prepared some text and I realized that I had a whole lot of time afterward and everything was really off of the cuff. But that's the beauty in what we are doing. once you're passionate about it, once you know the material, once you're aware of the message that you want to put across, it's very easy to fill an hour or half hour or 45 minutes. And you know this, Morgan, when you would have been carrying your lives. So that's our virtual political meeting. Remember, we're having our second virtual political meeting this Tuesday at 8 p.m. and it will be continuing every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. We'll be carrying it on our social media pages. We had some hiccups in the last account, but this Tuesday we're expected to go very smoothly. And we are also live on Guile the channel. So if you have Guile the channel, I'm going to encourage you to tune in and you can look at it with your family, tell persons abroad in other countries, because Guile the channel is carried not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but across the Caribbean. All right, so it's Guile the Caribbean, it has morphed into. So I'm already seeing persons asking questions and so forth. I saw somebody told me Happy Father's Day. I'm not a father as yet, but that's in the planning, don't worry. But really and truly, this is our political town hall meeting where we engage with you, the electorate, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, whether you are here at home or you're abroad. So, Morgan, what are we going to jump into now?
Well, according to these comments, everyone seems to want to hear about our policies and everything, and we touched on it in the in our virtual political meeting. So I guess we can have a little discussion about what exactly are our policies in case anybody missed the virtual political meeting, and we can reiterate it. But what I want to start with and just clarify is that our virtual political meetings will be specific to our policies. So we will be discussing in length and in detail those policies there. So anything outside of that will just be us listening to any comments and queries that you may have and trying to facilitate it in, belting out our completed manifesto, which will be out soon. So today we'll just touch on it as well. But if it is like you want more detail and stuff, you just have to stay tuned on the page, like Game of Thrones series,
But Morgan, do you think it's possible for you to pull up the graphic? So I know you will have to add it.
Oh yes, not a problem. It's up already.
Nice.
So I can pull it up. Let me see if this screen share will work though. So everyone just bear with me today.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I'm so glad to see everybody tuning in.
Yeah. Let me
Even
see.
without the screen sharing, the same we would have added probably like the video or the graphic to this, so that you can pull it up. You can probably look at that. But in the meantime, what I can talk about is what really brought these 16 policy positions together. Now, as you all know, we posted it. We are looking at citizen-demanded government. And what does that mean, essentially? If you flip it around, you hear government demanded by citizens, all right? And that is the kind of government and governance that we need in Trinidad and Tobago now more than ever, because for far too long, the political directorate has been at odds when it comes to the population, all right? And so we need really and truly not just manifesto points, but a vision for Trinidad and Tobago that transcends political parties, that transcends regimes that come in. And I think no one, honestly, can argue with our 16 policy positions. It's not really up for debate. This is what an ideal Trinidad and Tobago would look like. Now, under each of those 16 points, that is where we will be fleshing out some action items, all right? So when we talk about healthcare, when we talk about the environment, when we talk about democracy, these things mean things to people. And it may mean different things to each one as we go along. But essentially, these are just like how you have the Sustainable Development Goals, all right? Let's say, for instance, one of the Sustainable Development Goals is to end poverty. I don't think anyone can argue with that whatsoever. But how we do it, we may have some differences of opinion. We may think that one strategy may be better than another. And this is where, as we go along, the progressives want to get your input, all right? Because as I said, it's not about just producing a manifesto, something that you can easily discard and so forth. It's about this is something that 100 years from now, if we have unfortunately not achieved it, it should be something that we're still working toward. Yeah. So we're really and truly proud of the hard work that we put in terms of developing those 16 points. And it really took a lot of wrong robin discussions. We shared it with many of our stakeholders. We received input from persons, and I think that is very important. It wasn't as if we just sat down and said, well, this is what is best for Trinidad and Tobago. We've spent sufficient time doing research, looking at articles, getting feedback from persons, looking at comments on many of our videos. And this is what we were able to produce. We think this is what Trinidad and Tobago wants. Yeah? Were you able to get it up, Morgan?
I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties here. So,
well, we can always jump back into that.
Yeah.
Guys, Nichelle and Kelsey, I don't know which one of you want to go first, but talk about your whole experience coming into the political gyre, so to say. This is the first time that you all are engaging politics in this manner. Previous to this, it may have been simply voting, all right? And many persons across Trinidad and Tobago have that similar experience where their foray into politics is just limited to voting, not even joining a political party. But I don't know which one of you would want to go first, and you can just talk about what really encouraged you to join the Progressive Party.
Cassie, you want to go? Oh.
Okay. Okay. You're going? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right, I'll go. So when I first joined the party, I had no intention of being a board member. I actually started off, well, I went to the website, I signed up to be a volunteer, to be a member. And then one day I got a phone call, actually, and I found that was the fact that I got a phone call to be personally welcome to the party. I found that was the first thing for me that that captured me to the party. And after that, it was just about doing interviews, getting to know the board members, and, trying to see how best I would fit into the party to take the party to where it needs to be in time for our 2020 general election. And what I liked about that, I felt it was so authentic because I knew no one on the board. I didn't know Nikolai before. But just based on my merits and what you all would have seen in my resume, you all gave me that chance. And that authenticity is what I really loved about the Progressive Party in the beginning. And the reason why I even wanted to be a part of the party, I signed up for volunteering or membership, was because I never ever saw myself being represented by the other political parties that exist in Trinidad. I feel like politicians are so out of touch with regular folk these days that they can't relate to our struggles. And in my head, if they can't relate to our struggles, there's no way they'll be able to solve our problems. And I feel like this movement, this progressive movement, is authentic and true to the real citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's why I'm here. And this is why I will continue to serve on this board.
Nice. Kelsey?
Yeah.
For very similar reasons. So I met Morgan because we were both pursuing our master's degrees. And obviously, being a very captivating person, and being involved on a high level ranking within the board of the party, she definitely convinced, I would say, about the messaging and really the goal of the party. And most times we would end up going home together. So I would have long discussions about the party, what it really means and stuff. And I realized that I resonated a lot with what she was saying. Myself and I guess my family they've always voted in one particular way. So like different political ideologies is not something that was, I would say, known to me before. So she kind of, I don't want to say enlightened, but she helped me to really, I guess, focus my energies into a particular vessel, which is the Progressive Party, that would definitely bring about change. She introduced me to Nikolai, she introduced me to Nichelle, and these are all like-minded individuals. I don't want to say progressive, but progressive individuals who genuinely, well, one, they're educated, two, they're professionals in their own right, and they're very dedicated to the cause, and they care about the country. They're, as you can tell, we have a very different style of politics. We're not here bashing anybody. We're very calm, laid back, just talking about what we need to talk about, getting to the point, getting to the meat of things. And that is why I don't want to say I love, but I love the Progressive Party.
I know, Morgan, you've spoken about it on your lives and stuff before.
Yeah.
Just give a refresher for some of the persons who are now joining it for the first time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for those of you who don't know me, basically, I found out about Nikolai actually through my mom, because when I moved home, I already had the idea that I wanted to be more involved politically within Trinidad and Tobago, because I felt as though there were definitely gaps in our system that myself as an individual and others who are like-minded like me could find ourselves in those positions. And I went to the first one when you did the Let's Talk Progress, and it was really enlightening as well to see someone who is passionate, who has their ideas of where they want to go. And I just felt as though I belonged with this type of party, because I definitely didn't feel, as Michelle did, as Kelsey did not feel as though the parties that we have currently and the options that we have suited to where I think Trinidad and Tobago can be. So yeah, I got involved, and I also didn't expect to be a board member. I just involved myself to be a member, volunteer here and there, and then it just kind of exploded, and I thought, I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna apply to be something a bit more. And I was successful, and it has been challenging, but at the same time very rewarding, and it's refreshing. And I feel as though, and I think I speak for all of us, I definitely feel as though it's much bigger than ourselves. And every time I see, I'm seeing all these comments and everyone getting involved, and the positivity and the fact that people want to support us, it's very endearing, and I really appreciate it. And it's honestly been a roller coaster so far.
Nice. Well, I will just touch on it very, very briefly. As you all know, on Tuesday, we would have celebrated 1 year since we launched the Progressive Party. And the Progressive Party was in works way longer than that. I recount my experience serving in the Senate as an independent senator, and really being conflicted whether or not I should get involved in politics, join the Red Party or the Yellow Party, or go independent, as the case may be. But when I thought about it, I did not see myself reflected in PNM or UNC. All right. There was no appeal for me in either of those parties. I felt as though they weren't speaking my language as a young person who was very progressive in thinking, not necessarily completely liberal, because again, I want to put it out there, our political ideology, not that we're boxing ourselves into it per se, but we subscribe to progressivism or center-left politics. And for anyone who understands the political spectrum, on the left you have liberalism, and on the right you have conservatism. And we, as we fall center-left, it means that there are certain ideologies that appeal to us from the conservative standpoint, and there are things that we would be more inclined to lean left to, but not completely left, all right? So taking all of that into consideration, I felt as though it was important to develop a platform. Let's not even call it a party as yet, a platform where persons who did not subscribe to PNM and UNC, but who wanted an alternative, could really see as their own and hone their own skills in that kind of environment. So the Progressive Party was registered in August of 2017. Okay, that is gazetted. It is public information. It's very easy to find. So we were registered. Our symbol was registered with the Elections and Boundaries Commission as of August 2017. I spent about 2 years or just under 2 years thinking about, do I really want to move forward with this? I worked on the Constitution and co-opted a number of persons to help design that. And then it led us into 2019, June 16th, 2019, when the Progressive Party was officially established. And I'm really proud of our success. A lot of people, and Morgan, you were alluding to it, a lot of persons said that we would not make it this far. A lot of persons told us we were crazy to start a political party in a two-party system. But I think more than anything, we can stand here very proudly and say we've made it this far. Where on last account, when we were preparing for the 1-year anniversary, I did a check of all the news articles and all the time we appeared in the media, and there were at least 50 articles covering the Progressive Party. For a new party, an alternative party, a third party, as they say, but we subscribe to the term alternative party. That is amazing that we were able to attract so much attention over that space of time. Of course, we've heard the criticisms. We were told that we're in cahoots with this one, and that's the only reason we were receiving all that media attention. But the simple fact is that when you're good, all right, good people doing good things with a genuine agenda, I think that naturally people will be interested, they'll be curious, and they'll be willing to support. So we can't even afford to pay money for media attention, yeah? We are not in cahoots with the 1%, and I hear that term, but at least for a reference point, we're not in cahoots with them. We are just genuine people, and what drives us is our following, our supporters who donate every time, and we all know this here. Every time that we see a deposit of $100, we get very excited. Of course, if one of the major political parties were to get $100, they wouldn't really make anything out of it. It's a drop in the bucket. But these things just encourage us that people are interested in what we're doing and they are willing to support it. And I think that kind of spirit, once we're able to continue to push with that kind of spirit, I have no doubt that we would reach really, really far when it comes to the Progressive Party. Yeah.
So I can share my screen for the policies, but there is definitely a discussion that I think they would want us to start to intervene as well. But I'll have the policies up so that everyone can refer to that too. Our policies are also up on all of our pages. So if you see them here today, you can go on our pages, all of our social media pages, and you'll be able to look at them there as well. So I'm just gonna do that, and hopefully that works. And there's no issues. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Let's talk about this discussion that's happening right now. I think it's getting a bit
heated,
and it's.
So really let's take the first question then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pull up the
Mr. Thomas.
You can pull up the question on the screen, Morgan, so everyone can know what exactly.
Yeah. Let me look for it.
So Mr. Thomas has one on policy. He wants to hear on job creation, crime, poverty alleviation, community development, and tourism. So for that one, I think it's best that you just go through our 16 policy positions, because I assure you all of those things are addressed. And as our deputy political leader, Ms. Morgan Ramkalawan, stated, these things will be addressed in our political meetings, which are held every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on Gaia of the Caribbean, on Progressive, on Trio, all of those things, yeah?
But could I just say though that all of these points, Jonathan, and these are very pertinent points. These are the kinds of questions that I think the electorate needs to continuously ask of our politicians. When we look at how we move forward as a progressive society, I want to suggest that technology be the cornerstone of all development that we undertake in Trinidad and Tobago. So when you talk about poverty alleviation, when you talk about job creation, when you talk about our tourism product, community development, all of these things, we have to really and truly inject inject technology and the proper use of technology into these spaces. Because I'll tell you this, when it comes to poverty eradication and job creation, it's not simply about putting money in people's hands, because I'm sure we've heard about the lottery curse, where you have a situation where sometimes people win lottery money and they get excited and they spend it very badly, and then they end up poor on the other end of that experience. We have to teach people how to fish, as opposed to simply giving them a fish, so to say. So when it comes to job creation and poverty, how we can address that issue as one, why don't we teach persons how to code, as an example, all right? Because coding is the language of the future. There is no doubt about it. When you talk about building apps, when you talk about building websites and all of these things, we need to have an approach where the government goes into communities, of course, and teaches these skill sets to persons. And this will ensure that they have that currency to move forward, because there will never be a paucity of jobs in those sectors, all right? So we will go much deeper into that and show you some exact points. We're going to connect the dots and so forth. But just understand that the Progressive Party sees technology as our best friend, our best chance at success. Because through technology, we can get our message far and wide. We can get persons into productive work and ensure longevity, and even the tourism product, because things like Airbnb, Uber, all of these things, once we're able to successfully integrate that into our society, we would have persons who are able to make money without getting up. All right, without leaving their house in some cases, without leaving their vehicle. So we have to embrace these things and see them as our best friends. Yeah.
Yeah. There's okay. Well, I seem to have a question directly for me concerning our stance on abortion and same-sex marriage. So I definitely do think that there is an idea that we are advocating, same-sex marriage as an agenda. And, part of the LGBT community, they are not necessarily trying to advocate for that right now. They aren't looking to have marriage, understood and recognized by the state as of this moment. This is not to say that they are not trying to stop the discrimination that they currently face in jobs, in society overall. And what we advocate for as the Progressive Party is that no one is discriminated based on their race, on their gender, on their sexual orientation. That does not entirely entail that we are going to get into office and completely flip the script. At the same time, these are people who deserve to be heard and deserve to also have a platform. So it is a controversial subject. It is something that there are Trinidadians who are for it, and then there are Trinidadians who are against it. As time goes on, we will tackle situations as they come up. But as of right now, our main testament is that everyone in Trinidad and Tobago has an equal opportunity, and those opportunities are not based on nepotism, nor is it based on the fact that you look a certain way or you love a certain person. So I hope that answers your question. Nikolai, I don't know if you want to, or Kelsey, if you want to continue.
I really touch on the abortion side too much, though. So I could probably pick up on that. Our position on abortion has never been, I know where people get this whole concept from, or this idea. I want to challenge anyone listening to this live, anyone who is very cautious about supporting the Progressive Party based on the fact that they are under the impression that we are simply advocating for same-sex marriage and abortion, to find wherever we publicly stated that we are advocating for such. I really want to challenge anyone to bring that information to us, and we will address it accordingly, because we have never said that we are an advocate for these things. When it comes, because that Newsday article that was written some time back, and we personally have no issue with it. Yeah? A journalist's job is to deduce from an interview what he or she believes are the items discussed and positions, yeah. And I think that it was written in such a way where, yes, the reader may have deduced certain things, but even in that article, we never said, the headline may have said, Progressive Party leader supports X, Y, and Z. But just coming back into this, abortion, we believe that there are, in fact, some cases where abortion is necessary. And the most important of those situations is where a mother or the female carrying that child or that fetus full term is a danger to both her health and the fetus's health. Now, we have to acknowledge that the mother is already alive, okay? And if this child is, or this fetus is to be carried full term, then you're standing the risk of losing both, okay? So the greater chance of saving a life would be to abort the child, the fetus, that is, because it's still not yet a child. And even with all of that, we believe in a woman's choice. And even further to that, we believe in a woman and her partner's choice in that matter, because we can't leave out the male. It takes two to tango, all right? So these are decisions that really are reduced to those individuals. People, it's currently in our law where that is permissible. Right now, we are allowing where a doctor, based on his recommendation, is able to grant an abortion to take place. We have a wider problem in society where persons are taking over-the-counter drugs, where they are doing backyard operations, and they are losing their lives. So if persons have to engage in abortion, it should be done in an environment where you have persons who know what they are doing, who are medically qualified, and who would ensure that the life of the mother, the host, is preserved. So that is our position on it. We don't think that necessarily abortion should be a free-for-all. Now, barring that, even if legislation is put in place where it is easily accessible for someone to have an abortion, we still feel as though there needs to be a lot of public education on safe sex practices. We don't see enough of that right now. So it is very easy to deduce that in the absence of that kind of education and so forth, that you will have teenage mothers, that you will have an unusually high number of persons getting pregnant, unplanned pregnancies. So we have to have a balancing act, all right? It's the same thing, if I could just delve into this, another controversial issue, marijuana. Because you have addiction in general, where persons are using drugs in society. There are no state rehabilitation centers in Trinidad and Tobago, rehabilitation centers that are funded completely by the state and managed by the state. So we punish people for using drugs, and we send them to jail and all of these things. But what programs do we have for them to be wielded off of the drugs, all right? And then again, Morgan, I don't think I could have said it any better when you spoke about the same-sex issue. The LGBTQIA plus community in Trinidad and Tobago is not advocating for same-sex marriages. So why would we, the Progressive Party, pick up a fight that is not ours to begin with? We are guided by our constituents. We are guided by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And until that really and truly becomes a mainstay issue in the country, and we have proper debate in society where politicians are willing to listen, where the religious community is willing to listen, and so forth, we will continue to maintain that our first priority is the safety and security of every single citizen in this country, regardless of, as you said it, race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. We can't sit here and pretend that we can reverse someone's sexual orientation. That's not happening. We've seen in the past where you've had those kinds of camps that people send off to, and those treatments and all of these things, and they simply damage lives, all right? We have to acknowledge that we live in a diverse society and that people will have opinions and positions and preferences that may very well be different from ours, but we cannot treat them as any less than a human being or citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So that is our firm position when it comes to these things. I don't know if Kelsey and Michelle probably want to chime in on that or tackle another issue.
I feel like you all pretty much handled it. Go ahead.
Oh, well, what I was going to say is that the main issue at hand with those topics is not necessarily per se, is there a law that will allow same-sex marriage? Is there a law that will allow abortion? More so, the issue is the discrimination associated with these topics, and legislation is not an effective way to solve or overcome discrimination. So I think what the Progressive Party pushes for more so than legislation would be the acceptance of people of different walks of life, rather than saying that, we're going to legislate this, make this a law. You cannot legislate your way out of discrimination.
Yeah. We have a really good question here. I'll put it up. Policies on social development and justice has been neglected by past governments. Issues such as child abuse, homelessness, care for our elderly, and restorative justice for prisoners, to name a few. How do we intend to address these issues? Just very light and breezy topics.
Morgan, we could probably turn off the screen sharing so that we go back in. And I really want to encourage either Michelle or Kelsey to jump in on this if possible.
So I will be short and sweet. I definitely think we as the Progressive Party definitely think that the justice system definitely needs some sort of revamping. We have plans that, especially I know Nikolai is very vocal when it comes to, I want to say the three arms of government, three legs of government, meaning the legislature, etc. How do we intend to address these issues? I don't think that I am really... Okay, I'm kind of panicking. Okay. I'm kind of panicking. Yeah, but I know that we have plans because we have discussed all of these things before, especially when it comes to like prison reform and justice. Just the fact that the system that exists now is not necessarily fair, and it's not, because sometimes you have people in jail for long periods of time that are just there on remand that haven't even been convicted of anything. They've just been charged, and they probably can't afford their bail or their bond or whatever. Then they end up just being there. And we also know that, because it was said a lot with the whole coming of COVID-19 and the pandemic, that domestic violence cases also skyrocketed because people were forced to be home with their partners who have tendencies to be difficult or abusive in multiple ways, whether it's physically, emotionally, etc. And this is something that the board has discussed at length. But because it's not my area of expertise, I would not like to delve into it. I'd open the floor up for anybody else.
Right. Could you pull back up the question there, please, Morgan?
Sure. Let me get it for you. There it is.
Right. So, on social development and justice, it has in fact been neglected, as you mentioned, Teresa, by past government. And the fact is that this whole movement, when it comes to the Progressive Party and where we stand, it's very much a civil society approach. I often say it, and we have these discussions about it, where civil society exists really and truly because government leaves gaps behind. Now, if the government were addressing the issues such as child abuse, homelessness, restorative justice and stuff, and restorative justice is something that I studied where I did my postgrad diploma and my master's in mediation studies, looking at conflict resolution and these different approaches under our criminal justice system. Now, civil society continues to look to see which government comes in place so that they can go cap in hand, if I may, without offending anyone, trying to see what kind of resources can be given to them. And I think that is an approach that has been in place for as long as society has existed, and it's now where we have to change it. I think that civil society actors, as we say, are the best position to be in policy making functions or positions. I can definitely see some of our civil society leaders sitting as ministers, heading ministries, looking at policy and strategic directions. So these issues are very near and dear to the civil society sector, and I think that they have to be front burner issues when it comes to our society. Why do we, for years and years, continue to see homeless persons on our streets, all right? We have shelters, we have all of these resources available. And I think that when we fail to tackle the issue of homelessness, that affects us in so many areas. It affects security because you're not free to walk our streets. You think that you'll be harassed, you think that you'll be attacked. It affects our tourism product because when tourists come here, they may be seeing, well, look at how many homeless people on the streets. There is abject poverty taking place here. So it has so many issues and effects on our society. And I think that we, as the Progressive Party, because, as I mentioned, we're so in tune with the civil society movement, that these will be front burner issues for us. We have no problem tackling any issue that comes our way. As I've said before, we've touched on the issues of marijuana, abortion, same-sex marriage, whatever it is. We're not going to shy away from that. I think it's high time that we ask these questions as well of the other political parties, because we are the Progressive Party. We're very open to answering questions, to addressing topics head-on and so forth. But I can give you the assurance, and it really should speak to, when you look at our policy positions, these things are in a sense addressed there. Because when we speak about national security, we talk about a criminal justice system or justice system that provides justice in such a way that it is restorative, that it is fair, that it is timely, and so forth. So we are addressing these things head on.
I can just touch on the child abuse. Currently, right now, what our biggest issue is that we are underfunded with the facilities that deal and protect children's rights. And the biggest one is the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. And they are supposed to protect all of the rights of all children, regardless if they're citizen or not. What we have a problem with right now is they don't get enough funding from the government, which has kind of pushed this narrative and has put a lot of strain on the sort of foster homes that we have, and it kind of prevents any sort of rehabilitation for these children, and it's just an overall strained system. Now, what we would want to obviously do is to put procedures and mechanisms that combat that, and to have more individuals involved in that, because what you don't want, which is what we have right now, is a small amount of social caseworkers working with a high amount of children, and you lose this integral individual case-by-case load, and it starts to become overwhelming, and children start to fall through the cracks. The police service with the child protection unit, we need more officers who are specialized in dealing with situations such as these ones. And I think we do need stricter laws to ensure that children are protected, because overall, we also have a historic cultural history with child abuse. We have parents who have used physical, they've gone through physical means to sort of punish their children rather than a more learning experience if they do something wrong. And I guess like Kelsey and Nichelle are both teachers, so they would be more than aware of this, and they would see these things in the classroom, because at the end of the day, all of these things manifest itself in their kids. And if we expect our children to continue to be the leaders that we would want them to be and to push them forth into positions and to become valid members of our society, we need to ensure that they are protected. So the Progressive Party, although it's not laid out in our policies, it comes under our healthcare and our social development. So I hope that answers the question about what exactly we do have and the thoughts and the conversations that we've had so far concerning these ones that you represented to us. We have another question here concerning sports from Tess. What are our views for sports? Trinidad is an industrialist nation. Sports is neglected. Yes, in other countries, it's a revenue generator. Definitely, we have all agreed that sports is something that is neglected. My own experience with sports is that we, again, don't have enough funding. We don't have enough attention. We have individuals who are involved in these sports committees that don't have the best intention for our sport. We have a lot of youth who are extremely talented who don't get the opportunities that they should. There are more things that can be done. There are smaller initiatives that can be done. What I see a lack of, and I think Nichelle and Kelsey would probably agree with me here, is that the private sector instead has taken a lot of initiative within sports. And not that any of us don't appreciate the private sector getting involved, but as a government, we have a duty because we have national teams to invest in our national teams. Sports tourism is a massive industry that Trinidad and Tobago can tap into, and more so the Caribbean and a wider region. Jamaica has some of the most successful athletes, and we are all part of CARICOM and utilizing and collaborating to ensure that sports is something that we push forth more instead of depending solely on our ecotourism and other forms of tourism. There are things that we can be doing for our sporting community. But
I mean, additionally too, I think Trinidad has not yet jumped on that train of sports entrepreneurship that would be so beneficial to our youths. And sports, it's not only beneficial just to the sporting sector of our economy, but it also trickle down to things like reduced crime rates and all of that. And I think it's definitely an area that we have neglected to explore, and it is actually a really, interesting take on sports entrepreneurship.
We could look at CPL, for example. CPL is a massive revenue, huge within the Caribbean, huge within the international community. It is something that we see everyone anticipates towards summer because we all know what's about to happen and everyone gets excited. Cricket is a major sport for our island. So we have the facilities to promote sports tourism, but unfortunately, we have not had the guidance nor the vision that we currently have with the leaders that we have to put that in place as a priority. There are so many talented people in Trinidad and Tobago, and this is not just for sports. I am talking about artists, I am talking about business persons, students. The entrepreneurs we have in Trinidad and Tobago are second to none. I have never seen the creativity that come out of our island anywhere else. And we don't have the facilities to promote that. And what the Progressive Party wants to do is we want to tap into those industries and let them flourish, because all they need is a platform. And unfortunately, they haven't been given that. We have some more questions. Which ones do you guys want to do? Because you guys are seeing the same questions as me.
Yeah. I can pick one?
Yeah, of course. You can pick one.
So, Mr. Bernard, who has been very vocal in our live so far, he asked, what are your stance what is your stance on addressing the social issues facing communities such as Beetham Gardens and Laventille? As I personally believe that persons don't just join a gang for joining sake, but rather it's a reflection of a long list of issues such as unemployment, lack of opportunities, etc. We definitely agree with you. Those communities tend to be, as you said, kind of, I don't want to say tossed aside, but they definitely don't get the kind of one investment that they need. Sometimes you might see people building, let's say, a community center, have programs for about 2 months, a year, and after that, it stops. Um, I remember once I was lucky enough to be lectured by a lady who runs the Serval in the Beetham Gardens community area, and she was talking about her struggles herself, just keeping Serval, I guess, in that area functioning. And I think that it's difficult, especially for people on the outside. For some reason, I think as Trinidadians, we have built up this stigma. Anytime something happens, they say, "Oh, it's somebody from here. It must be somebody from there," and we have ourselves then want to know about why people shun them. It's an issue that we ourselves created. Yes, I understand that. I think that sometimes you don't look at things, you don't analyze it enough to see, well, unemployment is a serious issue in our country. How can we help? We have to get the private sector involved. Not everybody can be employed by the government. Not you understand what? Well, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying it like if you can hear me. Sorry, right? The lack of opportunities, education is very, very key. And I don't mean education in terms of having a bachelor's in, let's say, in education studies. It could be about trades. Even trades are they're very important. Yet when we had junior sex and senior secondary schools, it was always looked down upon because you pass for junior sec, and who created that kind of stigma, those kind of stereotypes? We did that to our people. So I think that sometimes people in those communities are hurt as well, because of the fact that because we've inflicted some sort of those stereotypes on them, we tend to treat them lesser and we don't value them. Sometimes you could just somebody go in for an interview and they ask you where you live. They won't even want to tell you where they live in because they don't want you to feel like you're coming to rob them or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to change how we ourselves view people. Every time you meet somebody, you're coming with a clean heart. I hope you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Unemployment, we definitely have to fix, but we have to fix it in terms of making it or presenting incentives for the private sector to become more involved. And by that, I don't mean less taxes at all. in terms of tax on their income or the wealth that they generate. Yeah.
I saw something there, if I could jump in, Morgan, in the comments from Jonathan Thomas, right? Let me just say that Jonathan, he would have been the political leader of the Youth Empowerment Party, I think it was, and then it changed the name. And he's someone that I have great respect for, because at one point in time, he would have been the youngest political leader in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not sure what's going on with his political party now, but he's speaking to the issue of a conservative society, and that he will fight to maintain the soul and the essence of our society in a conservative way. I can say categorically that I don't want to live in a conservative society.
Nikolai, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're breaking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's breaking up. But I can also add something to what Kelsey was saying. I feel like. Oh, okay. Is he back on?
I'm not sure. No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Right. So I was saying.
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Finish up. Wrap up your thoughts.
Go ahead and now, Nikolai. Sorry.
Limitations of technology. We're trying to use the technology as best as possible. And just so that everyone knows, I'm really on the way to kind of prepare for our meeting on Tuesday, our virtual political meeting on Tuesday. So we're multitasking, we're using technology and so forth. So back to Jonathan, as I was saying, he's someone that I have respect for because at one point in time he would have been the youngest political leader in Trinidad and Tobago. A very bold and courageous move, something that we understand all too well. And I want to say to him, because his concern is that he prefers to live in a conservative society and that he will fight for the soul and the essence of that. And I want to say to him, that's good. But that's not the kind of society that I want to live in. I do not want to live in a conservative society because I do think that there are certain limitations. It does not take into consideration differing views, opinions, and the fact is that we want a society that is diverse and
I think we can just sum up as we want a society that is diverse.
A very diverse society that includes opinions from everyone,
everyone has
but is not detrimental to anyone.
Yeah,
It doesn't
definitely.
promote,
Respectful.
yes, respectful, tolerant, and with dignity. Everyone should be treated with dignity, and that is to also point on, you know, what you were saying, Kelsey, concerning these stigmatized communities. They aren't treated with dignity. There's already an idea about who they are, and that's it. Michelle, you had a point that was being crossed over.
Yeah.
Technical.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've always felt like these communities and areas have been disrespected by past governments because I feel like they feel the solution to their problems would be constructing a basketball court, building a community center. Yet they don't, with that infrastructure, you need a clear plan of what you are going to do with that infrastructure and how it's going to benefit that community. And they fail to do that. All they do, they go, they put up the infrastructure and they leave it. Sometimes they're not even used. And I think that is something that we need to stop doing. We need to take a different approach. Even down to just simply producing a plan for this community. You know, they have no clear vision for these communities, and it's year after year, they are constantly disrespected and neglected, and we think constructing a basketball court is going to be the solution for these areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even now in the political campaigning that's going on now, you know, people are saying, well, I will build this, I will build that. We have to move past that. You're gonna build it, and then what? Am I gonna be able to come to you or make an appointment with you to tell you the problems that I'm having? Even like, let's say I live in community housing, I live in an HGC house. You know, I've been writing to HGC and I'm not getting a response. Can I come to you and say, you know, there's a leak in the back and it floods the road? If you're never in your constituency, and this is something now, why would I re-elect you just because you tell me you're gonna build a play park?
Yeah, exactly. We have so many, and we saw this specifically during our walkabouts in San Fernando West. The complaints and the concerns of many of these individuals who live in these housing developments. It wasn't a matter of, you know, feeling, you know, forgotten or anything. It was just the fact that they're disgruntled because they're voting for these individuals, and these individuals consistently forget them. And I think it is getting to the point where, you know, we've had for a very long time in our society basically two main political parties, and the choices were very rare and very small. So it was either you were going to choose this one or this one, and whoever was going, when you're at the polling station itself, when you reach on the day and you're in there by yourself, you're only thinking about your individual needs. And if someone tells you the day before that they can organize something if they get this vote from you, then you will do it because the situation calls for it. But we have seen time and time again these promises fall through and there's not enough done. And at the end of the day, many of these elected officials, they have a duty first to the constituencies that elect them before anything else. because they would not be in the positions that they are in if it was not for those same constituencies and those votes. And we have seen it over and over again. You can look at the development of every single constituency in Trinidad and Tobago. It has been slow and it is poor. And that is in no fault the fault of the voter, but the fault of the person elected to represent them. We are running out of time because I don't know if we wanted to keep it just an hour. Nikolai, you could let me know what exactly you want to do. We have a lot more questions, but I don't want to keep everyone with this for so long. But I mean, I guess we could answer one more. I saw this one earlier by Ryan Lashley, and I think Kelsey and Nichelle would be the best people to answer this because it deals specifically with education. How can our population become more educated on the operations of our political systems? It seems as though after our introduction to it at an early age in social studies, many either lean on the opinions and understandings of those close around them, or they distance themselves from it altogether. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kelsey and Nichelle are both teachers. They are doing probably one of the toughest jobs in Trinidad and Tobago, and they are our own unsung heroes. So they have more than enough experience with answering something like this as they deal specifically with our youth. So please take the floor.
I would like to say, so Ryan said that, it started at an early age in social studies. I don't think that we teach it really. If I look at the syllabus now, it's not really taught. All we kind of teach is that there is a government. We don't really learn about the opposition. We don't know how voting works. Why do you vote? Do you vote based on, I guess, the party's manifesto? If you're seeing progress, you're seeing change. That's not something that's ever mentioned. And it is actually something when you come into teaching that they tell you to really shy away from because it's such a controversial topic.
Distasteful topic.
You might say something and a child might perceive it in a particular way and go home and tell their parent, Mommy, Mrs. or so-and-so, just because of opinions that they would have heard. And children regurgitate. We know this from the time they learn to talk, they just start repeating over and over. And I think that is why it's pretty much shunned. Even in the social studies syllabus that I took part in my secondary school education, I would not say that they taught us about the justice system at all. They didn't teach us about how the government is elected. Those things just never came up. It's only when I pursued my bachelor's degree, which is directly related to politics, that I actually learned about how it works. So probably that is a problem. But then again, I do think that some parents will have a problem with it being taught because they will always feel like there is some sort of political agenda.
If I could say when it comes to political education, I think that one of the agencies of that should really be at the forefront of this is the Elections and Boundaries Commission. And I'm not sure that the EBC does not have the adequate funding, because even when you visit the EDC's website, it's not as user-friendly as it ought to be, all right? So if we really make proper investments or make resources available to the Elections and Boundaries Commission, not just when we are in an election period, but consistently, we can ensure that they embark upon the kind of programs that are necessary. We should have on television at prime time and at certain hours during the day on the radio, all of these, some public service announcements that explains to persons. I'm sure, guys, you all remember George and Gloria, all right? And this is something that we would have seen around election time. We would have been taught who they're voting for, or what to consider when voting, and all of these things. And those things have relevance in 2020. If not George and Gloria, let's have Jack and Jill, Boyo and Carla, you know what I mean? We need to continue that kind of education for persons to continue need to be aware. It does not have to be from the standpoint of just PNM and UNC, because many persons do not understand. I know they say quite often that young people are not interested in politics, but that's not the
Not
case.
true.
Young people
Yeah.
just don't understand the system of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. When I go cast a vote, many people still think that I'm voting for the Prime Minister, but that's not the case. We don't ever vote for the Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago. You vote for your MP or a candidate in your constituency. And because we have the first past the post system, where we are looking at that person who emerges with the majority, a simple majority or what have you, and then based on our parliamentary system, whichever individual commands the greatest amount of support from his or her colleagues, that person becomes the prime minister. It's not an automatic, because you're the political leader of this party that has won, you're going to be the prime minister. No. All right. So we have to look at those kinds of scenarios and curtail our messaging in such a way where it's far less about the politics and far more about governance and government issues. All right. And I think that when we put that lens over our educating of persons, we would see a more educated electorate. And I can tell you, even in my seat in San Fernando West that I'm contesting, it was only 7,377 people voted in the last election out of a constituency of 24,000 persons. So only about 30% of the population, of the population did not vote whatsoever. And when you ask these individuals why did they not vote, they often say because it doesn't matter. All right, but that is 30% of the population saying collectively that it doesn't matter, or they don't like the options there. If that 30% were to be mobilized and put their support behind another party or an individual, that can mean the difference between winning and losing an election. So it is very important, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there is some benefit to individuals and parties in keeping the population in a state of ignorance, because an educated population, a population that understands the importance of voting, understands the importance of vetting candidates, understands the importance of getting to know my candidate and his or her ideas and policies, is a dangerous electorate to certain political parties. Because how often do you hear proper policies being fleshed out on a PNM or a UNC platform? Quite often we hear the vitriol, we hear the attacks, we hear calling this one a Jamet and that one a this, a Judas, and all of this nonsense. I think that in 2020, for big man and woman, that is not the kind of discussions that we need to be having on our political platforms, especially when young people are listening. What kind of society are we creating for our young people? What kind of society are we creating for future generations? So these are the things that I think needs to occupy the headspaces of current and future leaders in Trinidad and Tobago, so that we can correct those wrongs that have been done to the population in keeping them in a state of ignorance.
Yeah, one thing, Mr. Sugrim, sorry, asked the question. He just asked who will select the candidates. I just want to remind everybody that we have an elections committee that is currently, one, accepting nominations, and two, going through the applications that we already have. So please feel free, if you know somebody in your constituency that you think is worthy, that can really mobilize the people, and are very driven, goal-oriented, they really want to help, please encourage them to apply. We are taking applications, we are taking nominations, and by the end of June, we hope to release some of our candidates for you all to see.
Yes. I think we are going to wrap up here. Basically, this was our first town hall, so it will be like this coming forward. For the next time, we'll probably just be diving right in and answering some of the questions that we didn't get to answer today. If you have further questions, other things that you want clarification from, if you just have questions for us as a party, please feel free to message it to us and we can address it publicly if you'd like it that way, or if you want to have a conversation, we can have that as well. Tuesday is our upcoming virtual political meeting, so we are looking forward to having you all view it. This is not one that is interactive as this. We won't be taking questions. It'll be more of just us speaking. And again, if you have questions from that, you can let us know. As Kelsey said, we have opened our slots for candidates. So if you know anyone, please feel free to send their recommendation and their profile to us, to our elections committee, and they can screen them and we can get into this process. This is a citizen-demanded government. This is the new normal. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I know some of you were probably in the middle of celebrating Father's Day, so to take the time out today, we really appreciate it. To any fathers who are watching, happy Father's Day. You are appreciated. You are loved. Thank you so much for doing what you do. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. It was a pleasure being here. I speak on behalf of the entire team when I say that. And we look forward for you all to watch us on Tuesday. So have a great afternoon. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.